Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wellness Dimension. Today, I have Debbie Simmons with me, and we're in the topic of stress when it comes to social and environmental wellness. How are you today, Debbie?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here with you.
Glad to have you. I'd like for you to share a bit about yourself and what you'd like us to know when it comes to this topic.
Okay. All right. Well, first of all, just to give you a little background of who I am a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a grandma of 15, a mom of nine, and a grandma of 15. And then I also am a CEO of a nonprofit that impacts thousands every year. And it's such a blessing to have created that and been the founder of it over the last 15 years. And then I'm an author, an international speaker. And so I do a little bit of everything. I'm kind of all over the place, go getter, get it accomplished, make an impact. That's kind of how I roll. So that really gets to what your topic is today, because here's the truth. The truth is, when you run at the level that I run, and you know what? I know that you have listeners that are like moms with kids and all this stuff. It applies to all of us. But when we run at the levels that we run at, we don't realize how much stress impacts us. And a lot of times we just think, oh, this situation is stressful, or I have a stressful, life. But, for me, about 5 years ago, I shut a truck door on my leg and I could not get the wound closed. And the wound doctor could not get the wound closed. And he wanted to put me in the hospital. And I was like, I'm not going. And I said, I don't know what I got to figure out between now and the next visit, but I'm not going to the hospital because he was
Right.
going to put me in there to stay. And so I connected with this nutritionist that's a very good friend. And I was like, can you get this hole in my leg closed? And he said, yeah. And so in 40 days, we got it closed. And I didn't have to go to the hospital. But after that 40 days, I looked at him and I said, there must be something I need to learn if I'm going to live into my golden years. And here's what I discovered that I had lived so long in a stressful environment that I didn't even realize I was stressed. It was just normal to me. But anybody else looking at my life would go, yeah, your life's stressful. But for me, I'm like, it's a good day. It's no big deal.
Right.
And what I didn't realize was all this external stress that's what they see, I see, was also being affected by how I ate, how I slept, how my body was backed up and my liver's overworking, all these good things. Internally, my body was stressed and it was running on depletion. And the reason I couldn't get my leg healed is because my body was literally going, hey, look, I'm going to save the fact that you can breathe, your heart will pump, and we can move blood around. I don't have time. My body was saying, I don't have time to go down to your leg and try and save it. So for me to live, it would have been okay to lose the leg, right? That's what my body was saying. And so I realized that I had to make a lot of changes. And the biggest change that I had to make was to understand that I didn't understand how stressful I was. And as we taught my body how to calm down, it was so foreign a feeling to me. I was like, is this really what it feels like when you're not stressed? And
Yeah.
they were like, my staff was like, you're so relaxed. You're so weird. And I'm like, I know it's like an out of body experience. But the truth is, that's what normal was supposed to feel like. Now, 5 years into this journey of learning to live this way, I can tell you almost immediately when my body, I sense the stress to go up. And now I know how to readjust and either take a supplement or go for a walk or whatever I need to do to be able to calm this body back down. And I am way healthier. So I think for your listeners, my real takeaway for them is, you know, figure out what stresses are really in your life. Ask someone else, they'll tell you the truth, right? And then begin to realize what healthy looks like and how do I get there so that I can be here for the long term. And, nutritionists are great at really helping you look at that. Functional medicine guys are really good. And that's what's been a blessing in my life. And so much so that I wanted to go get a nutritional practitioner license so that I could just learn more because my deepest desire growing up was to be a fun young grandma. And
Oh.
now I have those grandkids and facing a life injury that could take me out. And I'm like, no, I got to be here for these grandkids, right? And
Right.
so now I'm in a place where I can do, and I will tell you, I am healthier, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually way better because I began to take stop and take the time to do this. And so I would tell your listeners, hey, learn from me, don't get the injury. Just learn to make these changes now while the cost is very small versus it being a life-threatening injury like that.
So I definitely appreciate you sharing your story, how you've changed your stress level and also your own well-being, just making little changes to your social life and how you feel. So I wonder if you could tell us a bit of some of your accomplishments, which I believe may have added stress to your life when it came to goal setting and trying to achieve many things, just so they have an idea of how much you actually had to, overcome over the years with the stress and being a CEO as well.
Yeah, so when we first got married, interestingly enough, my goal was to have these grandkids, so I knew I had to have children first. And so we ended up spending many years dealing with infertility, about 5 years doing that. Ultimately, we got pregnant, and we got pregnant with quads, which was a stress roller coaster. And those boys were born at 26 weeks, and they passed away in my arms.
Oh.
And so after losing the boys, we had to walk through the grief of learning how to deal with that and learning how to figure our way. I was a mechanical engineer at the time, working a full-time job, making sure you got gasoline at your gas station. And then I felt God leading me into walk away from that career and to go to seminary. Then eventually felt like God was leading us to adopt. And so we adopted 3 different times, a sibling group of five, and then a sibling group of two, and then a sibling group of two. And all of those children come with trauma backgrounds. And so learning how to raise those children that bring such pain into their lives that they've got to deal with is extreme, can be extremely stressful. And I really felt like, I got two masters in there somewhere. And then I really felt like God saying, I want you to start this ministry that will bless families. And so 16 years ago, while still working, we started a nonprofit and built it up. And now, it serves thousands, and I am CEO and blessed to do that. And God didn't stop like giving me new territory. So we've continued to grow and impact in the ministry. But then he said, write a book. So I wrote my first book and put it out there. And then he's like, okay, you're going to go speak and teach and train other people. And so those are additional things. So, you know, God just continues to give us opportunity. But, I have to learn to really make sure that I am taking care of myself well, because that is a lot to carry and I'm happy to carry it. But, you know, I don't want to do it to the detriment of my health. So,
Thank you for letting us know about your journey all the way to this
mhm,
point. It seems like you had a lot of growth when it came to your mental, spiritual, as well as physical health. And I just
mhm.
want to confirm that you do believe that having a good balance among all these different areas of your wellness has helped you become a more healthy and balanced person overall at this point of your life compared to when you first began all these different goals and, just things that you wanted to achieve for yourself.
Yes. And so I would say, hey, wellness is not just a singular area. It has to do with nutrition. It has to do with physical. It has to do with mental, emotional, spiritual. All of these components matter. and how we go about them. Part of the reason I was in such bad shape was because I don't like vegetables. And so, I don't eat vegetables and I lived on sugar, that's not going to be good for me, right? While I may have been really strong spiritually. So it's like I've had to learn and adjust in the different areas. What can I do to improve? Now it's very important for me to make sure that I'm building muscle. So I got to make sure I stay focused on that. Doesn't take a lot of time, but it does take time, right? And you got to figure out how to work that in your schedule or figure out how to motivate yourself to do that. Now, I will tell you, I've noticed something that if I try and get my husband to help motivate me, that never works. Okay. However, if I find an outsider, a friend or a group or something like
Right.
that, then that generally always works. Okay. And I think it's because I expect my husband to love me even if I don't do it. Those other people, I'm like, I got to live up to what I said. And so that's not necessarily good, but that's what I found as far as accountability and people. Are you and I willing to have people that speak into our lives that challenge us to, challenge us from a good perspective to rise up, not condemnation and shame, but to say, okay, let's take it to the next level. Let's go together. And that is the most powerful thing for me, I think, when we can do it together.
Thank you so much for sharing your story today and your knowledge, your experience along this growth you've had with your health and wellness. And I want to thank you for being here today to share with my audience. And I hope to work with you soon.
All righty. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.